everybody out there, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan. You're in my corner, and I have a returning guest in the corner, except she's missing her partner in crime. Would you like to unveil your secret identity?
Hi, everybody. It's Tara Platt. How's it going?
It's going good, and it's so great to talk to you again. We actually haven't, talked or seen you guys, and oh gosh, I think year and a half now.
Yeah, I want to say it's been about a year and a half, I think. Just because of the various conventions we've been at, we haven't sort of crossed paths again. But I'm glad to be back on the show. So thank you for inviting me.
And now it's kind of funny that I mentioned secret identity because you technically now have one in a more of an adult show on YouTube. Like,
Yes.
could you explain a little bit about that?
Sure. Yuri and I have a web series now that's just getting ready to finish season 2. It's called Shelf Life, and it's about 4 action figures on a young boy's shelf. But like you said, it's for more the adult crowd than for kids. I know action figures sort of make everyone think, oh, it's a kid's show, but it's definitely not a kid's show. But on the show, I play Hero Lass, and so I guess you could sort of say that's my alter ego.
Well, it's kind of nice because besides the mom, I guess you're the only girl character.
Yeah, yeah, it's really been fun, sort of playing that role. And also, I mean, when you look at characters, archetypically, there usually is that like female role to juxtapose all the guy stuff that's going on when you're looking at comedies. I mean, obviously, nowadays there's movies like Bridesmaids, which are like all women with the like male role that's the sort of token guy. But I'm sort of the token girl on our show, and so it's really fun because in a way, I have to be their mom, and I have to be their sister, and I have to be sort of their love interest, and I sort of have to roll everything all into one because I'm the girl on the show.
Well, you have to admit, if it was just the guys on the show, I think they'd just be talking about inappropriate things all day.
I think that's very true. I completely agree with that sentiment. I sort of have to balance it out a little bit, I guess. When you look at the world like that we've created for these characters, and the fact that they're dealing with real world issues, but from their perspective of, sort of being in prison in a way. They're in a public prison. They're on display all the time, and, what goes on in their lives and what their thoughts and views are on all sorts of, hot button topics, whether it's political or racial or, I mean, if you watched our shows, they're pretty provocative. So
Well, with that kind of content, I have to wonder, how do you not like burst out laughing? Because when me and the staff we make inappropriate jokes all the time. The listeners never get to hear us,
sure.
in our naughty side. But
Sure.
we just keep cracking up at each other. I don't think any of us can deliver half that stuff with a straight face.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say sometimes we do. I mean, definitely. I mean, the good thing about taping stuff is that you can always go back and pick something up if you break. If everybody's laughing, you just do it again. But the other thing I will say that's a testament to all the people we're working with, both, directors and audio engineers and costuming and the actors, is that everybody is really professional and really good at what they do. And that makes everyone's job easier. We show up to shoot a season, and right now we shoot a season, which is 10 episodes in a weekend. So basically 2 days to shoot 10 episodes of scripted comedy, multi-camera comedy. And so it's really exciting to be able to do that. Some of the episodes we have 2 cameras, some of the episodes we only have 1. We're trying to move more toward having multiple cameras to get multiple angles simultaneously to sort of help us speed things up a little bit. But, even if you're talking about single camera comedy, everybody on board, all the actors and everybody is just really professional and really good at what they do. So I think because of that, we all appreciate the comedy in the situation. And so we play the heart of it. We play what's happening for those characters. And what's happening for those characters isn't funny, even though the outcome is funny. So when you're doing that, I think it's much easier not to break and not to, fall off the shelf laughing because what you're doing is so funny. Although there are moments, and we definitely have had them, where we'll be recording something and we can't keep a straight face and we have to pick it up again.
Well, I have to say, I can't wait to see the next episode. The last one I saw, I guess,
Thank you.
spoilers,
Yeah.
was where your character was kind of gone, and then there was like a replica of your character.
Yeah.
And then you come
Yeah,
back after, I believe, sniffing marker or
I
something along
guess.
those lines.
My poor drug addiction for Hero Lass. Yeah, yeah, I show back up on the shelf to find that I've been replaced. So, it's a fun episode and a fun idea. We just really like exploring what that world looks like for these action figures. I mean, who they are, the fact that, you go to a toy store and there's, 20 of the same character on the shelf, which means there's, 1 million of them that have been made. And, this idea of identity and who they are and their own individual identity, but their character identity. And, we've played around with that in other episodes like the Paratrooper, with certain ones of us, of the action figures or collectibles, take their story, which is their character story, to be serious, and they play that, whereas others of us are aware of the fact that we're in this world as action figures that that happen to be particular characters. So it's sort of fun to play around with what that means to them and what their values and their ideas are, in this world that's sort of a crazy, messed up world.
Well, now the important question on everybody's mind is, where can you get a marker that big?
That's a really good question. Actually, we had that custom made. Lino Stavoli of the Creature Company actually built all the costumes for us when we started shooting the show. We had them designed by Eric White, who's a wonderful comic writer and artist in his own right. So he designed all of the character costumes, and then we took them to Lino Stavoli of the Creature Company, and he built them for us. And he also then built us the marker, because we knew we needed that as a prop, and they just are not available. They're not easy to come by, although there are certain places online that I've been able to do a little bit of research and find oversized props. But the trick with that is, we're a very specific scale. We're talking about like 6-inch collectibles. And so you start saying, well, if we're 6 inches tall, how big are the items that are around us? And we try to sort of keep things as much as we can to the correct, proper scale. And so that's a little tricky because, I find oversized props and oversized things on the internet, and then it doesn't work at all in comparatively to what we are size wise. So it's been a little tricky. And there's actually going to be some props coming up in season 3 that we've already shot, which we had to build as well because there was just nothing out there that we could use. So I'm very excited about some of the creative, things that we've come up with and have put into practice.
Awesome. And now for the real question on everybody's mind, not
Yeah.
my weird where's the marker thing. Where can people who are of the right age watch the series?
Sure. I would say the right age is, teenager upwards, as long as it's the same as like what an R rating is, because we curse and we put ourselves in sort of, awkward positions and whatnot. So it's definitely not for little kids. But it's if you are comfortable watching an R-rated thing and cursing and things like that, then I would say the show is for you. And you can find it on YouTube. We have our own channel. It's Shelf Life the Series, all spelled out. So it would be, if you just wanted to go to YouTube, you would go to YouTube and look up Shelf Life the Series. But you could also just go to youtube.com/Shelf Life the Series, and you would see both season 1 and season 2. We also had a fan from France really fall in love with the show and ask if he could translate the entire season 1 when he was watching it into French. So we even have season 1 translated into French with French subtitles. So that's a whole little, like if you look on the channel, there's various sort of little mini sections that you can watch. And so season 1 is one, season 2 is another, season 1 in French is another, all the trailers is a third one. And then we have the additional bonus content where it's been like Bug Boy's Beef talking about viewer comments, or Hero Lass's journal when she was, going to Comic-Con, or talking about her Christmas wish list. And so all that's on the channel. But we also have a website, which is just shelflifeseries.com. And that website has various information from being able to send you to our Zazzle store, which you can also get to off of our YouTube channel, but it's got t-shirts and other sort of swaggy goods. And then it has photographs from the show on the channel. I mean, on our personal website for the show, and just other information. So it's kind of nice. We've got some various places. We even have on Facebook. We have a Facebook fan page for the show if you look up Shelf Life. So that's good.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I found kind of interesting when I was, looking through the internet to see what you had done in between besides Shelf Life, is
Sure.
I realized we had never talked about Marvel versus Capcom, which was
Oh yeah,
it was like a big thing, on our site because we have a lot of fighter enthusiasts who like
sure.
play the game religiously, and I realized we had never talked about your character in that game.
Yeah, she was so much fun to play. I mean, whenever you're playing a character that's been around for a while or that people are familiar with, there's always that fear, I guess, that you're not going to do service to it. You're going to do a disservice, and either the fans will be upset or it just won't turn out the way that you have in your mind. But I just had a really great time working on that, and I think people were very kind to me in their comments, and that always makes me feel good when people like the work that I've done.
Definitely. I mean, you don't get the chance to play the original source material. I mean, how often do you get a chance to sit down and play like a 20-hour game?
Exactly. That's very true.
I have that problem now. It's like I run the station, and it's like I don't have any time to play video games or watch anime anymore.
Oh, believe me, both Yuri and I lament that. We're so busy trying to create our own, content, with our web series, and we have our, production company. We're in post on our feature film Con Artists, which is about both Yuri and I playing sort of hyper versions of ourselves at the convention circuit. It's a mockumentary feature film. We're in post on that. That's going to be hopefully coming out this summer. And so we've got so many things that we're trying to do and create and make that it's hard to find time to just do all the things we love. So like we have a stack of video games sitting by the computer and by the television for us to play that we haven't even opened. It's so sad.
Well, I think it's when you invest so much time into a business or what have you, and it becomes sort of your hobby,
Yeah.
that it's just so hard for other people to sort of understand. Well, I work from 5 in the morning to like 3 at night.
Yeah, yeah, it's really hard because you're putting all that time and energy into your passion, but it's hard for people to appreciate that that's work at the same time. People are like, "Well, why can't you just come out and do this?" And you're like, "Because I've got work to do." And they're like, "Well, it's not real work." And you're like, "No, it actually is real work. It's just not work for a boss that's someone else. I'm the boss." So, it gets a little tricky because you have to be your own hardest boss.
And you can't just take a vacation because then everything in the office space or what have you, the area or whatever
So
it is,
true.
it nobody can do all the stuff that you can do.
Yeah, no, it's very true. I've contemplated, there's been times in my life where I'm like, I really just need an assistant, or like, basically what I need is somebody to clone me so that I have two of me, so that one of me can be doing all this other stuff while the other of me goes and, earns money from other people. But cloning aside, until they, perfect that, I just need somebody that can do all this other stuff because it's just, there's not enough hours in the day. But then there's that also idea of like, well, crap, I would have to teach them basically everything I know and how to be me in order to be the right assistant. So that it's like, well, I don't have that energy or time either. So
Poof, there goes that idea.
exactly. So much for that. I was
the,
going to make millions.
but I mentioned the mockumentary. I'm kind of curious. Is that the one you guys filmed at Anime Vegas?
Yeah, you guys are actually in it.
Oh, yay! That makes me
Yay.
special.
That's me clapping. That funny sound in the background is me clapping. And then I realized that we're doing this over recording. And then I realized I shouldn't be doing that because you can't see what I'm doing. So,
Well,
yep.
no, I'm really excited to see that because I remember your cameraman got some amazing footage of just like all these convention people huddled around him, like cheering into the camera.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. We just locked picture a week ago. It's been a very long process because when you're talking about whether it's documentary or mockumentary, something that you've shot over 100 hours worth of footage, it takes a long time because you have to go through it all, you have to log it all, you have to note what everything is, and then you have to start the editing process. And the editing process can take a really long time, especially when you're working with people who are working nights and weekends, you know, out of the goodness of their heart to help you. It's not like we've hired people to just, throw money at it and take care of the job. And so it's been a very long post-production process. But now that we've locked picture, we're really, really pleased. Both Yuri and I and the director, Boris, who was, at the time, he was also doing camera because he was the one following us as we went to all the conventions. And I think it ultimately has about 11 different conventions in it over the course of a year that we traveled around and went to. And it's just really fun because you get to explore from the mockumentary side this silly idea of us playing heightened versions of ourselves, of these voice actors that then sort of get this sort of taste and glimpse of fame at the convention circuit and then let that sort of run away with them, which is really fun to sort of play with from a comic standpoint. But then at the same time, the film is also really balanced, I think, quite nicely with a lot of really true to convention life. You know, for people that have not been to conventions, I think they can watch the film and really appreciate and learn something new, you know, get a sort of glimpse into the world of conventions, from cosplaying to the dealer's room to panels to anime to various things that are happening at conventions, and why conventions are becoming so huge and why so many people are going to them nowadays. But I think that fans of conventions and people that already go to conventions will really, really enjoy it because they're getting to see that world sort of explored and slightly poked fun of, but we're never poking fun of the fans. We're only ever poking fun of the idea of ourselves getting big heads going to the convention. So it's a really sort of nice balance, I think, where you get to sort of see the love of the convention and see us being sort of buffoons at the same time. So hopefully everybody will enjoy it and think it's as funny as we think it is.
Well, hopefully it doesn't sound lame when I say this. That would be something I'd like to show my mom, who still at this point is like, "Oh, you're still watching them Pokemans," and it's like, "Mom, I haven't
Yeah.
played a Pokemon game since I was
Yeah.
9."
Yeah, no, hopefully it would be a great movie that like families could go see together, you know? Parents would appreciate on one level, and kids and people that go to conventions would appreciate it on a totally different level, you know? And I think that's hopefully what's going to be fun about it. And also, I mean, I think comedy is a great way to sort of open up worlds and open up doors and go to places you haven't seen before. I mean, it's one of the reasons that our web series Shelf Life is comedic, because I think that there's a great way to explore a lot of really interesting ideas through comedy that gets people thinking, but you still enjoy it. And so hopefully people will really enjoy Con Artists. I mean, we're really proud of it. And now that Picture has locked, it's all the rest of the post stuff, from audio mixing and sync and sound effects to graphic elements added onto it, and credits and color correction and all those various things. So we're still in the middle of post, but I'm very excited to get it finished in the next few months.
Awesome. And is there any place on the internet for that, or should we keep our eyes peeled to your Facebook and Twitter?
Well, you can definitely stay peeled on Facebook and Twitter. I actually did start a Twitter feed. Well, not only I have multiple Twitter feeds, but there's a Twitter feed for Shelf Life that you can follow, which is Shelf Life Series. But I have a Twitter feed also for Con Artists, which is Con Artists. Oh my gosh, I haven't used it in a while. It's either Con Artists or Con Artists Movie. I can't remember, but if you go to my website, it should, or if you go to monkeykingdomproductions.com, which is our production company, it should have all the proper links, both to Facebook pages and Twitter links, because we have a Facebook page as well for Con Artists, the movie. That way, you know, when it starts to actually come out, we can send people there. And hopefully we'll be able to start screening it at some of the conventions we go to later in the year. So that'll be fun too.
Ooh, exciting. What conventions are you going to in 2012?
You know, well, we've definitely got Comic-Con coming up, and we're actually right now in the process of working out the rest of our schedule. So we're sort of tentative on a couple, and so I don't want to say them if they fall through. But there's going to be a convention, I think, happening in Canada. And then there's another convention in the United States that we're still in process of working out besides Comic-Con. So I definitely know Comic-Con's a go, but I don't want to say anything because if they don't work out scheduling wise, I always feel like such a jerk. But
well, that's understandable. And hopefully we see you this time, because this year we've got 30 conventions lined up. Well, not lined up. 30 conventions in total this year. We've already had, I don't know how many.
Sure. I'm sure you've already done like 10.
It feels like it at this point.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you're a stronger woman than I, because I think 30 conventions in a year would kill me.
Well, I'm kind of lucky because sometimes it's just the staff who goes, and I'm quote unquote ground control.
Right,
so I
right,
sit here, and everybody has to text me and tell me what they're doing, and I have to watch the radio and all that fun stuff. So.
Sure, yeah. I just find, honestly, I wish I had a better immune system, because I find a lot of times I go to a convention and I come home and I get sick, and that just takes me out of commission for so much. I've missed so many jobs from getting home from a convention and then getting sick, but it's really hard to do that, because, you know, you don't want to lose out on work, but you don't want to lose out on work, so.
Bring all of the orange juice.
Yes, believe me, orange juice, vitamin C. And now I use hand sanitizer. No offense to anybody, but just like people just have, they cough on their hand and then I get sick. So, all sorts of stuff.
Well,
But
some of them are kids. My mom's a school bus driver, so she comes
yeah,
home and she complains like, "This kid got on the bus and just started coughing," and I'm like, "Can you
yeah,
use your hand?"
I know. So that's tricky, but I'm really pleased with the film, and I'm pleased to be able to start to show it to people, and I hope that people just like you have a positive reaction and enjoy it. So.
Well, before we let you go, are there any projects that you're working on that you can talk about that you haven't mentioned, or anything that recently came out that you want
Ooh,
the
let's
listeners to know
see.
about?
I wish there's two big video game projects that are going to be coming out within the next like 3 months or so, but I can't talk about them.
NDA.
They haven't been announced yet, and I'm torn up inside because I want to tell people because I'm really proud of both of them. Um, Saints Row the third came out, which I really had a great time on. That came out at the end of last year, which was really fun to work on. Trying to think what else. I just started a new anime series, but I don't know that anyone's talking about that yet. So like there's several things sort of in process, and come a couple months from now you'll be like, "Oh, Tara's doing that. That's what Tara was talking about. That cool project." But yeah, I've been doing a lot of motion capture and performance capture. So one of the video games I did all the performance capture for as well, which was really cool. Um, so I wish there was more I could share with you guys.
Oh no, I completely understand. We sign non-disclosure agreements ourselves. Uh,
Yep.
they're very fun.
Yeah.
But actually, I saw somebody post on your Facebook that you were a character from Tales of Grace, but I don't know if that's true.
I think they're right. Sometimes I have to go back and check on the IMDb.
I
Um,
couldn't find it anywhere. I just found it on your Facebook. It was some lady with green hair, in black, and it's like
that's
an RPG game, and it came out like two
probably
weeks ago.
it's probably right. That's probably true. I
Oh,
know I've done several of the Tales games, like Tales of the Abyss and Tales of some other stuff. I think I did Tales of Grace as well. I don't remember which character it is though, because the problem is, and I always feel like people come up to me at conventions, they're like, "Were you in this game?" And I'm like, "I really don't know." They're like, "How can you not know?" And I'm like, because probably we recorded it a year and a half ago. I had one session. When I showed up for the session, they didn't tell me the name of the game. They said it was a working NDA non-disclosure agreement. So I don't know what the game is, and I played a character where I never, you don't refer to yourself, you just record the lines. So I don't remember the name of the character. I don't know what the game is. Like it's just this terrible, like combination of facts that make me not know if I did something, and people get really cranky about that. Like they get like it's like a personal affront that I can't tell them if I did the work. But I think that I did that game that you're referring to. I'm pretty sure that was me. And I'm sure your listeners would know better, but I think it was me. Yes.
I still have it in the shrink wrap. Like I pre-ordered it and I still haven't touched it, and so I don't know
Nice.
either. But
Nice.
but don't feel bad because I've done about I think over 300 of these interviews at this
Yeah.
point, and I'm starting to forget some of the people I've interviewed, and
Totally.
I'm starting to feel bad, really bad about it. I'm like, oh, wait, was that me? Did I do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, and it's awful too because being in the community that we're in with, knowing so many voice actors and talking about projects, I'll have a conversation with somebody about a video game and then 5 months later someone will ask me if I was in it and I'm like, "God, I remember that name. I know that title." What, and I don't remember if it was me, or sometimes Yuri will work on a game and I've seen the name of it like on a paycheck, but then I don't remember later if it was me or him that worked on it. Like it becomes so much in the past because after you've done the work, you're moving forward. It's not the same as if you were in a feature film shooting for a month and a half or 3 months or 6 months where you're playing that character and you're putting on the costume and people are calling you that name and you're having scenes with them. When you do these video games, a lot of times you go in, you just read your own lines, you're by yourself, you're in and out in 2 to 4 hours. It's a one afternoon job, and you may have 5 jobs that week. So it becomes very tricky to try to hold on to all the information.
Which is understandable. And since we're letting you go, sadly,
Sure,
is
sure.
there anything else you'd like to tell the listeners out there?
I don't know. It's been really nice this year. I've been getting lots of emails and notes from people on Facebook and on Twitter, either thanking me for work that I've been doing or just really appreciative of either having read the book, our voiceover book, or finding me online because I do tend to be very easily accessible online. On Twitter, I'm at Tara Platt, and on Facebook, I have a fan page, Tara Platt Fans, and I definitely interact with people there. And so it's just been kind of nice this year to have people starting to see those video games or play the titles or watch the anime or the cartoons that I've been a part of and actually sort of reach out to me and interact, which is really great. And it's nice and heartwarming that people are responding so positively to our web series. I'm really, really proud of it and I'm really excited about it. And it's just nice to see it sort of growing. And we're just working really hard to get more and more viewers for Shelf Life because I think it's a really good show and I think everybody that watches it enjoys it. And I think there's a lot more that we want to explore in that world. So we're actually going to be doing an Indiegogo campaign to raise funds as we move into season 4, because we've already shot season 3. So that's going to be going up online in a couple months because it's in post right now. But then we need to raise funds to work on Shelf Life season 4 because we've got some really big plans for that. But it's bigger than the budget that Yuri or I could come up with because right now we've just been self-financing it. So we're going to do an Indiegogo campaign. We haven't started it yet. It'll probably be toward the end of April, but it's going to be 40 days and 40 nights to raise $40,000 for season 4. So be prepared for that to sort of come out. And please, if you don't mind, to tweet it or repost it or put it on Facebook and try to spread the word because, it would really mean a lot the more people that we can have, not only watching the show, but supporting it as well so we can keep making more of them.
Well, obviously, if you let us know, we'll let the listeners out there know.
Thank you. Well, I totally appreciate that.
And this was a lot of fun. Thanks so much for talking with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
And for anybody out there that missed any of this interview, shame on you, but don't fret, it'll be up on the website within the next few days, so keep it tuned to 91.8 The Fan, everything you want and nothing you don't.